An ailing industry, journalism. One of Washington's newspapers recently announced that it would stop printing. The paper's announcement came after a report found that journalism jobs have shrunk by 30% in the past 30 years. Our reporter Natalie Plum went to the newsroom of the dying paper and spoke with some of the journalists whose jobs are on the line.
The Pew Research Center released its annual report on American journalism in March. Its findings suggest that the news business continues to become increasingly digital. The report says newspaper ad revenue is now down 60% compared to a decade ago. That 60% decline is hitting home for many in the newspaper industry. Just a day after the Pew report was published, the Washington Examiner, a 6-day-a-week publication, announced it would cease printing and publish solely online. The 8-year-old paper effectively is firing 87 employees and keeping 38 staffers while opening about 20 online reporting positions. This means cutting out all local coverage, including news, crime, sports, and entertainment. Nikki Schwab has reported for the Examiner for the last 3.5 years.
And then I found out that some of the staff members were being told to go to a conference room and some were being told to go to the newsroom. You always know when they divide you up that like part of you are on the Titanic and part of you are on the lifeboats.
The new online weekly publication, which debuts on June 20th, will focus on national politics and the opinion section.
Some of my colleagues have been in the business for like 20-some, 30-some years and have massive amounts of expertise, and to see a company just basically say, you know, we want opinion, we don't care about your expertise, I think that was what was really hurtful to me.
Scott McCabe has worked at the Examiner for its crime section for 7 years, assisting in the arrest of 52 fugitives. In total, he's been a journalist for 23 years.
My daughter, Sabine, who's 3.5 years old, beautiful girl, she was there in a meeting with us while we were getting fired. So her spring break was watching Daddy get fired.
The Pew report also says that local television news stations such as Channel 9 behind me are losing viewership, dropping 6.5% from 2011 through 2012. The difference? While print news media outlets are losing revenue, they're gaining it because of advertising. But even journalists in the heat of the layoffs are encouraged.
Sometimes when this happens, better things come along. So that's what I'm hoping for.
It's going to continue to flourish. People will still want professionals presenting and reporting news in addition to, the guy down the street on his blog.
In Washington, for District Wire News, I'm Natalie Plum.
Well, joining with us is Jeffrey Rutenbeck, Dean of the School of Communication here at American University. Dean Rutenbeck, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Great. I think I'd like to start off by just getting your general thoughts about the report that was just shown.
Well, there's no doubt that there are tectonic shifts taking place in journalism today. If you look at it from a number of perspectives, though, you can see some competing views, because from the traditional sort of industry perspective, no doubt that there are fewer journalists employed by traditional media organizations now than there has been for many decades. However, I think you can also make the case that there's more journalism taking place now than ever before. It's just happening in different ways and showing up in different venues. So for the more enterprising and entrepreneurial individual, it's a great opportunity.
Okay. Well, the Pew Research Center actually released a report not too long ago. I think there's actually a graphic about it that shows how people are getting their news today, and it shows that most people are looking online, in fact, or digitally for news. What's your take on that?
Well, again, how could we dispute the idea that we're engaging with screens more and more with smartphones and other gadgets and gizmos in our lives? And online news really has taken on that fully flourishing shade as well, where people are consuming news in contexts they never really consumed it before, waiting in line at the movie theater, or unfortunately while they're driving. So that expanding context, again, is an exciting set of opportunities, but it's obviously so totally disruptive to the traditional models. It's hard for many people to figure out exactly how to capitalize on that.
Okay. I want to move momentarily to a soundbite from one of the Examiner reporters who was recently laid off. I think it would be interesting to get your take on what they say.
I think people are starting to realize now that online is a completely different way of delivering, and it's not necessarily the same thing, and adapting it to online isn't necessarily going to work. You need to think of new ways to deliver it in a new medium.
Well, much like the Examiner, the student newspaper here, the Eagle, will also end its print publication and shift online. So, what are your thoughts about receiving news in different mediums?
Right. So the Eagle is a great example. It's a study of the same trends on a smaller scale, where the advertising system, the system of economic support that existed for decades, is shifting and changing. But so is the context of generating news and consuming news. So it's not just economic changes, it's a fundamental shift in almost everything about how journalism is created. So for the Eagle, it's again a great opportunity to explore those possibilities. And it's quite possible that print will reemerge. We've seen it before with other forms of media, where it seems like something is faded into the background and it might reemerge. But for now, a more online approach is undoubtedly the most relevant educational experience for the students working on the Eagle.
Okay, that's interesting. I think I want to switch tracks slightly. I want to talk about the new home, actually, of the School of Communication, the McKinley building. Excuse me. What are the latest developments regarding
Well, for those who might not know, it's a massive project. It's an exciting project, about 55,000 square feet. Devoted to the school. It's the first time in the history of the School of Communication that everyone will be under one roof, so that's exciting. Obviously, we're framing the entire project around the student experience, and so the teaching and learning spaces will be unparalleled in their flexibility and how they'll drive more active learning for the students. And then ultimately, what it does is it elevates the prominence of the school itself. As you might imagine, being tucked away in the third floor of this building or in the corner of that, it's hard to point to the School of Communication, or it has been hard to point to the School of Communication. Now the university is very clearly communicating its commitment to the study of communication into the future, and this building will serve as that reminder.
Okay. Well, Dean Rutenbeck, thank you for taking your time out of the day to answer a few questions.
Thanks very much, Henry. Enjoyed it.
Thank you.
And that ends our special edition of District Wire News. I'm Julia Brammer.
And I'm Henry Corrali. Thanks for watching. You can find us online at dcynews.com.